Is this the secret sauce to getting that film look on your photos and videos? Matt Zeffi here, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the Dehancer plugin. And Dehancer is essentially a film emulation tool that Dehancer, the company, has studied film stocks for years and basically developed this plugin over a very long time and also refined it over time as well. And it's for a multitude of different softwares. And in this video, I'll be focused on Premiere, Photoshop, and Lightroom. So kind of showing a little bit about how you can use it for your videos and also for your photos. So it's kind of nice to have the flexibility to do both. And there's even a phone app as well. Dehancer did provide the plugin for the purposes of making this video, but they have absolutely no say on what I say here, and I also am going to share some of the negative things that I have found while using it and towards the later end of this video, so stick around for that. Well, we've got a lot to check out, so let's dive into the software here. So just a word of clarification also, Dehancer is super easy to incorporate into your existing software. Like, there are some plugins which kind of take a lot of finagling. Not the case with Dehancer. It's super simple to get that installed. And right off the bat, you can just see how easy it is to use this software, which is something that I can appreciate especially. So I've put together a few clips here, not any particular order, they're kind of random, and it was from going to Niagara Falls with my parents last weekend, and there was a few shots where I was like, you know, they were very center-focused shots, and locked off static shots, and I thought that these would be perfect examples to use the film emulation tool Dehancer on, because it has it's begging for it, really. Some of these I filmed in log. Actually, most of them I was filming all in S-Log3 on a Sony A7R V, believe it or not. And what's really cool about the plugin is we're going to apply Dehancer onto here now for our first clip. Now in the input panel, you can choose your exact camera and also do the conversion LUTs in here if you wanted to, but Adobe's latest software does this automatically for you, so you don't even have to do that, and you could just tell it to do Rec 709, which it defaults to already, since Adobe is already converting my S-Log3 footage to Rec 709 as it is, so you don't want to do that twice. And in the input panel, you just get some of your initial settings from the camera if you wanted to manipulate these things like your temperature, color temperature, tint, and a few other settings as well. And then the fun really starts to begin once you get into the film panel. This is where you can actually pick a film stock, of which there are so many you can go a little bit crazy in this panel here. And I certainly do. I like to experiment with a few different film emulations, and of course there are so many different tweaks that you can make to this. You've got a push and pull slider if you wanted to manipulate that, and you can see already what that film stock color is doing to the image. From there, there's the film developer panel, and this is where it gets a little bit more into the weeds on how the actual film, well, it's not actual film, but how the digital actual film is being developed after you have your film stock. And so this allows you to do things like contrast boost, gamma correction, and even color boost. There's a lot of different manipulations that you can make from this panel here. Let's just experiment a little bit. We can get a little crazy with our color boost. Contrast boost, initial stock, these are pretty low contrast, which is a style for sure. So it just depends on what you're going for. I tend to like it a little bit more contrasty than it does stock. I know a lot of people are going to be wondering about the film grain panel, and they have a bunch of different sizes of film that you can emulate, whether you're trying to do 65mm with a different ISO range or a 8mm stock with a different ISO range. There's so many different things you could do here, and each panel has a way to enable and disable it. And these are my two favorite parts about Dehancer, has to be halation and bloom. Halation and bloom are two characteristics of film that is just so unique. And I mean, I'm using a Pro Mist on this video right now, which is something that kind of just softens that digital sharpness, which is one of the best characteristics about how old film used to look. I mean, just everything looked a little bit more smooth, a little bit more pleasing, and a lot more, I guess, natural looking, I would say. But the ability to do this in post means that maybe I don't really need a certain filter all the time, and I could get away with not bringing the filters around, and I don't have to worry about step up and step down rings for various thread sizes. Bloom is gonna kind of soften those highlights a bit more. And then halation almost adds like slight halos to the edges of certain aspects in your video clips. And I mean, by today's video standards, that would be an error. That would be something that we would want to try to avoid in camera. However, the ability to add it in post means that it's a characteristic that we can kind of emulate film, and it just adds a lot more character to your image. Film damage is another really fun one that's going to digitally damage your video and make it look a little bit more like, you know, those kind of old-time discrepancies that we've all come to be so fond of. And then Overscan, which people seem to love kind of incorporating into their videos as a creative effect. However, a very strong creative effect, so, you know, use this very intentionally, and there's different scans that you can mimic here as well. And what's really cool about these two is you can dial it in. I mean, there's so many different manipulations you can do just inside, get rid of certain things or change certain things as well. There's also a vignette tool, and then you can adjust the total impact on the entire image. So that's kind of where we started and then where we ended up. You could even add a little bit of a dramatic push in here to really bring the viewers in, you know what I mean? Man. So here's another clip where I was kind of by the water doing the same. I'm just gonna bring those same settings over. What's really nice is it's usually just a simple copy paste. And you could also apply this plugin to a adjustment layer if you want to just affect the entire sequence. So you can see it's doing a lot to my hat there. There's a lot of halation. Now, I think if you're really trying to push that aspect even more, then something you want to mess with is aspect ratios to try and emulate older aspect ratios. All right, jumping into the Lightroom portion real quick though, because I want to show you just how it works with some photos as well. And because the difference here is now Lightroom has to convert it to a TIFF, basically make a separate photo file in order to jump into Dehancer. So I'm going to make a few adjustments beforehand just of my exposure before I ever want to do that, and I would recommend doing that beforehand. Just make a few kind of tweaks, and I'm already actually pretty happy with this image. This was from Lake Ontario, and I just kind of peeked around this bush here, and it was probably one of the most beautiful scenes I've ever seen. So from here, I would right-click, edit in, and then go to Edit in Dehancer Lightroom plugin. It makes a separate TIFF file. See, that's the beauty of working with a digital film emulation tool, is nothing's destructive here, and we're not affecting any original files. It's not like we're affecting any physical film. And then just immediately, like, this adds so much visual interest, so much character to the photo that I kind of feel like I'm already done with it, except I'm gonna make a few adjustments. I really dig that. I think the film grain is a little too much on this preset, but I could bring that down a bit. Man, that looks beautiful. This is where we started, and this was where we ended up. So that's what's really cool about Dehancer, as well as those presets, those film stocks already look so fantastic once you hit them. And you know, it's not like the meme where you just slap a LUT on it. You can make the adjustments, and I often do as well. But the fact that everything feels so dialed in once you click it. And what I do really appreciate about the Lightroom plugin and Photoshop as well is the ability to kind of see these previewed on the left. Like, I wish there was a way to do this in Premiere where I could see what my image is going to look like rather than having to scroll through that little panel dial there. It's kind of annoying. So the ability to see full examples of kind of what that's going to look like with each of these film stocks is so much cooler, in my opinion. And then we just click OK, and it jumps back to Lightroom. All right, so I've done a quick demonstration in both Lightroom and Premiere. Photoshop also has the exact same way of doing that as Lightroom does. And what are some of the pros and cons of the Dehancer plugin? Starting with the pros. I love that out of box, so to speak, you can get really great results. And you can get all of that without having to put a filter physically on your camera or do anything specific. You don't gotta like rub Vaseline on your lens, your $1,000 lens, to try and emulate film or something like that. Like, you can do so many different things after the fact. You can take footage that you've already shot in the past, kind of revitalize it, but also make it look like an old film stock. Just the fact that you can do so much after the fact makes it such an impressive plugin for that reason. Some of the pros, I love that it has so many different film stock options. If you can't find something here, you are too picky, I'm afraid, because there are so many different film stock options that it's a little overwhelming. If anything, it's actually quite overwhelming. I love the ability to really dial in every individual setting, very specific settings as well. Even if I don't use everything, the fact that I can is really freeing, and creatively it gives you a lot of different options. I love that the plugin is really easy to install right off the bat. There are plugins that I can't say the same. And overall, I think it just does a great job at emulating film, and it does a way better job than some of the other examples that I've seen out there. And it makes it pretty clear why there are so many people who are obsessed with this plugin to an interesting degree. But jumping into some of the negative aspects of this plugin, because there are a few, and right off the bat, I don't know if you heard it, but my laptop sounded like it was going to take off there, and I did have quite a lot of things open, but it is a bit GPU intensive, especially when you're exporting in Premiere or whatnot. It's going to take longer than it ordinarily would without the plugin. That's kind of the case for most plugins, but especially this one. And it's a graphic plugin, so it's going to be GPU intensive. It's not like unmanageable, but of course that varies depending on your computer specs. Another thing is, I wish there was a way that the Lightroom plugin, or like really the photo plugins in general, can be integrated a little bit more like the Premiere one. But at the same time, I think that it actually looks much better, their UI, rather than having the panel in Premiere where you can't see examples of each film stock. And the last downside, of course, this is going to be the case for so many different things, but Dehancer is fairly expensive. Now, they offer different ways to actually get the plugin with updates and everything, and a lot of people are moving to subscription-based sorts of things, and they are offering a subscription-based, so you can technically finance it, but then it would just be indefinite. There's also a lifetime option, but that's definitely on the more expensive side. And also it's priced completely separately depending on the program that you're getting. You can get individual effects, like whether you want specifically film grain or specifically halation. You can just get the plugin for those if you're only looking for one specific thing. But the entire thing tends to be pretty expensive. On the bright side though, if you are interested in getting Dehancer, you can actually get 10% off by using the code ZEFFY10. I will include that in the description with a link and everything as well. That is an affiliate code, so it does help the channel, and of course I would greatly appreciate it. But if you're someone who's looking for unique ways to emulate film, especially after the fact, I do think that Dehancer is one of the best plugins to do so. And it's the perfect option for someone shooting photo and video and kind of wants a holistic aesthetic. And with the phone app as well, you can even control things and kind of dial things in from your phone as well and get just a cohesive aesthetic, old film-like aesthetic across all of your platforms or whatnot. But that does it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you got anything out of this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you are new here. And let me know down in the comments, have you tried Dehancer? What are your thoughts on it? Are there other plugins that you think I should try out or that you'd recommend? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching again, and I'll see you next time.